Good morning, everyone. Your morning weather briefing for this Thursday, June 7th, finds that there are no major changes in the forecast versus what I presented yesterday. Temperature and rainfall outlooks this morning, still all sorts of heat in the forecast for another week to 10 days, although a brief period of moderation for the middle of next week before we truly get into a more moderate temperature regime for around the period starting just after June 16th. For the rainfall outlooks, very little change in what I presented yesterday. Still a lot of rim of fire activity for another 10 days, and models in good agreement on above normal rainfall in a big portion of the Corn Belt for the 11 to 15 day time frame. QPF discussion this morning. I think that overall this forecast is too wet, but a lot of things to note about this forecast. Make no mistake that the QPF map this morning is showing rainfall more towards the heart of the Corn Belt, while you can find a lot of models, if not most models, that would want to center the biggest rainfall quite a bit further northeast into the Corn Belt, especially across portions of Minnesota and into Wisconsin. In general, I agree, though, with the Weather Prediction Center having the rainfall located further south. I think that you have a tendency in situations like this for the rainfall to verify further south than what the models show. Now, that said, the type of coverage of 1 to 4 inch rains that the Weather Prediction Center is showing on this map, I think, is overdone. There's going to be some 1 to 4 inch rains, but I just think that this map overall is too wet in saying that the coverage of rainfall shown by this map is quite a bit in the way of being overdone. As far as the day 6 to 7 time frame is concerned, I think we basically need to eliminate this map. It is nothing more than a guess. Make no mistake that there's going to be rainfall in this period, but rainfall coverage is going to be a lot less than shown, but at the same time, at least localized rains are going to be a lot bigger than shown as well. Temperatures yesterday started to warm things up in a bigger way in the Corn Belt. A lot of the western Corn Belt seeing high temperatures above 90, and you can see the 95 plus degree heat yesterday in the southern plains. 18-hour rainfall totals through 1 o'clock this morning, central through southwestern Iowa being an area that had the best rains through that time, although we did start to see some rains developing in western Nebraska. Radar estimated rainfall again shows those rains in central through southwestern Iowa, shows the rains in the far western portion of the Corn Belt, and especially in the Plain States, and those rains in the far western Corn Belt easily visible on the radar this morning as well. Again, going into this rainfall event, let's keep in mind where the rainfall is needed the most when you consider that the vast majority of the Corn Belt during the last 2 weeks has seen subnormal rainfall. It is a situation where basically anyone in the Corn Belt right now would appreciate rainfall, but there are areas that need the rainfall more than others. Certainly southeastern Iowa, western Illinois, and northeastern Missouri would be one such area, and a sizable portion of Indiana and Ohio would be another area where it's very important to see rainfall start to increase there in the near term. Like yesterday, let's spend a little bit of time and see how some of the models are verifying with regards to this rainfall forecast. This is the last time I'm going to bring this up. I just want to kind of give everyone a lesson on how unwise it is a lot of the times to be following the rainfall forecast from the various models. Again, let's keep in mind the map in the bottom right there. That's rainfall that has occurred since 7 o'clock in the morning yesterday, and the weather maps that I'm showing on the screen are the 24-hour forecast, 24-hour rainfall forecast for basically that same time frame. So you can see that we have seen areas, certainly not solid coverage, but sizable areas of the western Corn Belt and Plain States that have had over an inch of rainfall since yesterday morning. How have the models done? Well, here's the GFS ensemble. In general, maybe overestimating coverage, underestimating amounts. Canadian model, again, overestimating coverage, certainly understating the type of rainfall amounts that would occur. Your rainfall amounts from the GFS model, maybe a little bit underdone in some areas, overdone in others. You'd have to say that overall the rainfall on the GFS forecast was too far north as well. European model in the bottom left, almost a swing and a miss on that, having no rainfall of more than a half inch during that period. Rainfall certainly further south as well. European ensemble as well, kind of a swing and the miss, not showing any rainfall amounts of more than a half inch, and rainfall verifying further south as well. So again, my lesson to you today is that it's not wise to be spending a lot of time looking at the details of these model rainfall forecasts anywhere beyond 3, 4, 5, 6 days in advance, when you consider at how poorly they are in depicting the rainfall that occurs just in a 24-hour time frame, which I'm presenting here this morning. In general, the maps are going to be overstating coverage, but also in general they're going to be understating rainfall amounts. And you can also see in these maps as well that there is a tendency for the rainfall to verify a little bit further south than what the maps suggest as well. I'll be spending more time talking about that down the road. But again, the lesson that I'm presenting both yesterday and today, and this is the last time I'm going to be showing that, is that it's just not real wise to be looking at the details of the rainfall forecast from the various models. They just are not very good, and you can see that even with regards to just a short-term 24-hour rainfall forecast. As far as the look of the radar from this evening, from the short-range resolution model, there's a depiction of what the radar might look like at around 7 o'clock this evening. The extensive thunderstorm activity right now in the far western Corn Belt likely going to be dissipating this morning. Then we will be seeing a reignition of thunderstorm activity in the western Corn Belt for this afternoon. By the time we get to tomorrow morning, you can already see the tendency at that time for the weather models to differ on the placement of the rainfall. Look at the European model in the upper left with the rainfall a lot further north in the Corn Belt than would the GFS operational model. Even the Canadian model further north in the GFS, certainly the European ensemble further north with the rainfall than the GFS operational. It gets even more pronounced as we get towards Saturday when we look at the surface features. Let's even try to draw in some surface features. There's your warm front as of 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturday from the European model going towards a low pressure system located in western Kansas. There's that same low pressure system in western Kansas on the GFS model, but notice how it would have the warm front located so much further south than the European model, and as a result it has its rainfall located so much further south as well. 1 to 5 day rainfall forecast, you can again see the placement of the rainfall is further north on a lot of the models versus the GFS because those other models have the warm front located so much further north. Here's the GFS operational for the 1 to 5 day. Notice how its rainfall so much further southward than the European model, and you can even see that on the European ensemble and to some degree on the Canadian ensemble as well. The GFS ensemble would match the GFS operational in having the rains further southward. Again, as I noted earlier, the Weather Prediction Center in their QPF forecast is going more towards the GFS solution and having the rains further south, and in general I like that logic. And here is the rainfall discussion this morning from the Weather Prediction Center. I'm not going to read it for you. If you want to pause the recording right now and read it yourself, go right ahead, but I like the logic that they're using here. The logic is that the rainfall so far has been verifying further south than the models would suggest, and generally speaking, in a rim of fire, mesoscale convective complex situation like we are having right now, the tendency historically is for the models to have the rainfall too far north as well. So thus, I like the logic of the Weather Prediction Center in having their rainfall forecast showing the rainfall to be verifying further south during the next 5 days than most models. Again, I think that the QPF forecast this morning from the Weather Prediction Center is too wet, but I do like the fact that they have the rains more into the heart of the Corn Belt during the next 5 days rather than in northern portions of the Corn Belt like is shown by the vast majority of the weather models right now. Even as we get in towards the 6 to 10 day time frame, the European model there in the bottom left has the rainfall so much further north in the Corn Belt than does the GFS model. Again, I'm not believing any of these models specifically right now. I think that they're all going to be changing a lot and are going to be far different as far as the actual verification is concerned, but I do not believe this European model in the 6 to 10 day time frame having the rainfall that far northeast in the Corn Belt region. As we head towards the 11 to 15 day time frame, there would still be more additional rainfall chances. You can see good model agreement on the wet look of the 11 to 15 day time frame. So like yesterday, the bottom line, this is not a dry pattern for the next 2 weeks in the Corn Belt. Temperature wise, this is what we're going to be seeing largely in the way of temperatures right through about Monday of next week, and that is a forecast that features plenty of big time heat in western and southwestern portions of the Corn Belt. High temperature forecast for today, lots of 90 to 95 plus degree heat in the southern and southwestern Corn Belt and areas to the south of there. Again, we'll be seeing a lot of that in that same area right through Monday. Would not be surprising at all to see a few spots in the Corn Belt getting above 100 degrees more than once in that time frame frame, and we will be seeing a lot of 100-degree heat in that period in the southern plains. Like yesterday's maps, though, we are looking at a brief period of moderation. This is a high temperature forecast as we get towards Wednesday. Note that the bulk of the Corn Belt on Wednesday is going to be seeing a lack of 90-plus degree heat. That would then be followed by more above normal temperatures across the Corn Belt for the final 2 to 3 days of the 6 to 10 day period. But as has been the case with the maps of the last 2 days, looking at nice moderation as we get towards the 11 to 15 day time frame. 500 millibars as of 7 o'clock in the evening on June 18th. This is the same time period that we've been looking at in the videos ever since back on Friday. Note the trough of low pressure that is showed at that time from the various models, with all of the ridging shoved way out into western and northwestern portion of the nation, even at the end of the 11 to 15 day time frame. Any ridging well into western portion of the nation, some semblance of a trough of low pressure in the east. This would still not be anything close to a hot pattern right through the end of the 11 to 15 day time frame. Internationally this morning, no changes in Brazil. Dry weather in the northern Safrina corn areas. Good rains in southern areas during the next 2 weeks. In Europe, normal to above normal rainfall, especially in central and southern Europe for the next 2 weeks. Drier than normal weather all across the wintergreen areas of the former Soviet Union. Any decent rains that are going to be seen there for at least the next 10 days, favoring just western portions of Ukraine. Areas east of there may see very little in the way of rainfall right through the end of the 10-day time frame. For the spring grain areas, still significant rainfall going to be seen across the bulk of the spring grain areas for the next 10 days. It has been very warm the last few days in the spring grain areas, but notice that by tomorrow morning, much cooler air once again moving back into that area. In China, fairly favorable rainfall forecast for the corn and soybean areas of Manchuria during the next 2 weeks. Normal to slightly above normal rainfall. Looks like that rainfall will be spread out fairly nicely across the 2-week time frame. For the North China Plain, some fairly decent rains on at least a localized basis for the North China Plain for the next couple of days, then largely dry weather for the rest of the 10-day forecast. In Canada, mostly dry weather there for the next probably through Saturday anyway, but you can see that from the 10-day rainfall forecast that after that, more very good rains going to be seen all across the Canadian prairies. Lots of warmth in the forecast for the Canadian prairies near term for today through about Monday. Look at your high temperatures there on Saturday, running 10 to 15 plus degrees above normal. Much cooler weather then for Canada starting next Tuesday. For Australian wheat areas, we do have some decent rains in the forecast for some of the eastern and southeastern portion of the Australian wheat belt during the next 10 days. You can see that from the European model that 10-day rainfall amounts on the order of 3/4 of an inch to 1.25 inches for a decent portion of South Australia, for Victoria, and into portions of southern New South Wales. It's not the truly wet weather pattern that Australian wheat areas need to see right now, but at least some rain is going to be falling over southeastern growing areas during the next 10 days, and you can also see a little bit more rainfall coming to a portion of the Western Australia wheat area as well. Finally, for this morning in India, no changes. The monsoon looks very active there in week 1, but really looks to become much less active in week 2. That's what I have for your Thursday. Everyone have themselves a great day.